Gay marriage one step closer to becoming a law in Washington state. Good evening, I'm Lee Webb.
And I'm Wendy Griffith. The Washington Senate narrowly passed the controversial bill. It now heads to the House and is expected to pass. It looks like homosexuals could start getting married there by this summer. Several other states are also taking up the gay marriage issue this year. Traditional marriage supporters across the country are standing their ground and gearing up for a fight. Tyler James has more in tonight's top story.
Question before the Senate is the final passage of Substitute Senate Bill 6239.
Washington is on course to become the 7th state to legalize same-sex marriage.
Mr. President, 28 yeas, 21 nays.
The vote triggered a wave of emotions from both sides of the issue.
It passed, 28 to 21.
All right, I'm proud of you.
It's a long time coming that we can do something as powerful as this, and I do not believe there is any more powerful decision I will make.
The bill is expected to eventually make it to the governor's desk and be signed into law.
We will not take this mess anymore.
Traditional marriage supporters aren't giving up, though. They promise to get the measure put on the ballot to let the voters decide.
If it does pass, then we're going to put up a referendum. And I think that then we're going to find out where the people in this state really stand.
The law could be in trouble if it makes it on the ballot. 31 states have put the issue up for a vote. In all 31 of those cases, voters chose to support traditional marriage.
And God bless marriage between one man and one woman.
A similar battle is playing out in Maryland. This week, hundreds gathered there to protest a bill to legalize gay marriage.
Marriage is what's going to hold it holds the families together. Without marriage, you have no families and you have no society then. It'll just crumble.
Maryland's Democratic governor is urging lawmakers to pass the bill. Religious and family groups promise to keep fighting for traditional marriage. Lawmakers in New Jersey are also debating the marriage issue, but Governor Christie promises to veto it. Many Republicans are criticizing Democratic lawmakers in these states for making gay marriage a legislative priority, saying the focus needs to be on job creation and the economy. Tyler James, CBN News.
Brian Brown is president of the National Organization for Marriage, and he joins us now from our nation's capital. Brian, supporters of traditional marriage vow to place same-sex marriage to the voters in a ballot initiative. Is there reason to believe the voters in Washington state would come to a different conclusion?
Oh, I absolutely believe that they will. You know, remember that in every single state that this has gone to the ballot, whether it's been in California or Maine, whether it's a blue state or a red state, it doesn't matter. Every single state has said that they believe marriage is the union of a man and a woman. And what the legislature is doing in Washington state right now is just giving a slap to the voters' face. And I don't think that they're going to take kindly to that. And I think that what you're going to see is that we're going to be able to get the signatures. We're going to be able to get the signatures very quickly if they pass this law in Washington. And it's going to go to the people, and the people are going to say what they've said time and time again: marriage is the union of a man and a woman.
Brian, I note with interest, and it seems like all of the stories that we do on this issue from state to state, that your biggest allies, the biggest supporters of traditional marriage, are the African-American clergy. Are they your strongest allies in making your case? Because many times the pro-gay side tries to frame this in a civil rights manner.
Well, you're exactly right. We have some great friendships that we've developed. I mean, we're fighting in the trenches, but we're friends. People like Pastor Ken Hutcherson, who you just had on, folks throughout this country, leaders in the African-American community, are standing up and saying, please don't hijack the civil rights movement in your attempt to redefine marriage. What we went through with slavery, what we went through with Jim Crow is not the same, has nothing to do with an attempt to redefine the very nature of what marriage is. And if you look at the polling, the African-American community is very united in its opposition to same-sex marriage, and frankly tired of politicians attempting to use the pain and suffering of the civil rights movement to redefine marriage. It's comparing apples to oranges, and they are making that case very strongly. So both in Washington state and in Maryland and in New Jersey, you're seeing leaders in the African-American community stepping up and saying, this is not the same as what we went through.
I noticed that in 2009, the voters in Maine rejected gay marriage. Yet just a little over 2 years later, they're trying to get that back on the ballot. What are you expecting to happen in Maine?
Well, I think we will go back to the ballot in Maine. I think it's a terrible mistake on the part of same-sex marriage advocates to go back to the ballot so quickly after the people already said no. I don't know what part of no they don't understand. The people just voted on this. So you're not going to get a different outcome in Maine. We will, again, be very active in Maine. We were the largest donor to the last campaign. I expect to be very active there. But what we're seeing is that in state after state, there's an attempt now to use the legislatures to pass this, and basically people not looking at the recent history and realizing that the people don't support this. So I expect there's going to be a lot of surprises for supporters of same-sex marriage when the election comes around, because, again, I'm confident the people will win. The strongest argument that the other side continues to make is that somehow this is inevitable. It's not inevitable. In state after state, when this has gone to the people have stood up and said no. And in a few weeks, we're going to see that happen again in New Hampshire, where there will be a bill, and I believe it will pass, to repeal same-sex marriage in New Hampshire. I believe that bill will pass, and what you're going to then see is the governor veto the bill, and then there will be a fight to try and override that veto.
Brian, unfortunately, we're out of time, but we appreciate you being with us. Keep us posted on what your organization is doing.